Hello, happy Tuesday, happy Transformation Tuesday. It's that time of the week, my favorite time of the week. While I'm waiting for a few of you guys to jump on, feel free to say hello. I'd love to know, how's your week going? How you doing? I know it's only Tuesday, but how are you doing? I'd love to hear what's going on in your world. Hello, Mornay. Good to have you here, mate. Tonight, we are here to focus on something that is what I believe is a major personal development hack. That's very much an underutilized resource. And tonight we're going to be talking about journaling. Not in the maybe traditional misunderstood sense of just writing stuff down to keep a nice kind of memoir or some kind of record of the past. We're going to be approaching this very tactically, very strategically, as one of the most powerful personal development hacks that you can ever tap into. So I'm excited to share this with you because since I started tapping into journaling at a far deeper level from the perspective of transformation and creating insight and creating awarenesses of the way the human mind works, I've found I've been able to radically accelerate my learning, my insight, my growth, my emotional intelligence, and just my ability to overcome any resistance and any obstacles in my life. So I'm excited to share these tools with you today because this is a way to fast track your personal development. This really is. And once you start fast tracking your personal development, you start to understand how you do your consciousness to a far better degree, which means that you get more done in less time. It means you have a greater understanding of the workings of the mind. You can identify anything that triggers you, any of the emotional limitations that exist inside your world, and it's like popping the hood. It's like popping the hood on the lid of your mind and being able to look inside and see what's going on. So very, very powerful skill to have. Once you're able to do that, you can understand a human being. You can then change your habits. You can change beliefs. Well, you can always change habits and beliefs, but this is a skill that makes it a lot easier, far more powerful. So I'm going to cover with you the 4 major pillars of journaling, or the 4 styles of journaling that I use. There are lots and lots of styles. I'm just going to cover the top 4 that I think are going to give you the biggest bang for buck. There are dozens and dozens of styles. I'm going to give you 4. If you focus on these 4, using the 80-20 rule, you're going to get some pretty profound results if you apply this. And as usual, I encourage you all to take notes as you go through this video, so you can actually work out how you're going to apply this. What are you going to do? Because my philosophy in life is there's no point learning something unless we're going to apply it. So if you're learning this, if you're here right now, please take the time to take some notes. G'day, Ross. Good to see you here. Please take some time to actually record some notes and decide and make a declaration how you're going to apply this. And I love to get your feedback. For those of you that are applying the tools that I'm giving you, I love to find out how you're doing, what's working, what's not working. So please give me your feedback, and I'm always here to give you more suggestions and more clues and tips and hacks, because that's what I'm about. This is my favorite time of the week. On Tuesdays I get to geek out, sharing you the best of what I've got. So let's dive straight into this. And give us a shout out if any of this resonates with you guys on the way. I'd love to know to begin with, have any of you guys experimented with journaling? Do you currently do it? Is it consistent? Is it inconsistent? Are you finding, do you get any benefits from it? I'd love to know, how are you doing right now with journaling? Is it something that's foreign to you? Is it something that's new? Have you been doing it for a while? And I'm going to add a lot of nuances and a lot of advanced tools that can help you get so much more out of your personal development journey. So buckle up, this is going to be a good one. As I said, this whole topic, like journaling, well, first of all, what is it? Well, we're not talking about creating a memoir, so to speak. We're not talking about writing a story necessarily. Yes, you can do journaling for the purposes of just reflecting back on your life, which is, sometimes it's great to just keep a memoir. Sometimes it's great to just keep notes and that sort of thing for referring back to. You will naturally have a bit of a reflective journal to look back on by keeping notes like this, but it's not the purpose. The purpose here is to accelerate your growth. The purpose here is to give yourself the greatest level of understanding of the human mind so that you can evolve quicker, faster, you can be more powerful, more emotionally intelligent. You want, this whole purpose of this journaling process is to evolve. It's for you to be the highest, most emotionally intelligent, most empowered version of you. So this is a performance hack. This is not something that you do. This is not just something to do for fun. This is a performance hack. So this isn't something you just do for the sake of it. This truly is a tactical, world-class performance hack. And when you use it, you will notice incredible results. If you don't use it, well, you're going to miss out on a major performance hack in your life. So first of all, we need to understand, well, what are we actually doing here? Well, we're talking about recording insights. We're talking about recording learning. We're talking about recording some of the magical moments, the wisdom, the powerful awarenesses that come into your consciousness every single day. And you've heard me talk about this before. We have about 70,000 thoughts on average per day, about one every couple of seconds. In addition to that, we make about 35,000 choices per day. So there's a lot of data going through the mind. We have a lot of information traveling through our consciousness. And there's a lot of insights. There's a lot of genius moments. And I'd love if you guys could share with me. You can probably recall there's probably been some moments in your life where you had a fantastic insight, a powerful idea. And it could have been, you maybe thought of Uber before it existed. Maybe you had a great business idea. Maybe you had a really insightful, powerful concept and it just popped into your mind. And then it went out again. And then maybe a week or a month or a year or a couple of years later, someone else has got that idea and it's being built. Someone's killing it. Well, these are the kinds of things that will pop into our mind. And if we don't apply them, if we don't use them, well, they will go out of our mind and they'll go to someone else who will use them. So this is a really powerful tool when you realize that there is so much wisdom that you have access to. We exist, like all thoughts is simply information. Thought is information. We are taking information from the quantum field. All information exists, all potentialities, all possibilities, all information, everything that could ever exist and will ever exist is currently available in the quantum field. One of the phenomenons that exists that is a big illusion is the illusion of time. So everything that has ever happened and will ever happen has already happened at the quantum level. And so you have access to tapping into that resource of information. Now that might kind of seem a little bit woo-woo, but the quantum physics and the science is suggesting that when we look at these phenomena like time and information, all the rules that we would think are common sense completely break down. So just recognize that whenever you're tuning in, whenever you're connecting to the quantum field, whenever you're having an insight, you're getting the download. You're getting powerful insight and wisdom. And journaling is a powerful way of capturing that, of strategically targeting and focusing on drawing that in. So I just wanted to get you guys to keep that in mind as you're thinking about this, because we're not just talking about rehashing information that's already inside your mind. The brain can be limited in that if we're just rehashing existing thinking patterns, well, we're going to be limited because we've just accumulated a lot of information and now we're just rehashing that information. What we're looking to do in this journaling process is, in addition to extracting the knowledge and the wisdom that we've gained, we're looking to gain access to new information, new insights, new awarenesses, new ideas, creative brilliance, genius. You know, guys like Einstein and Newton, these guys have been talking about when you tap into your brilliance, when you're tapping into your genius, you're not going back through the archives and looking for old information. You're stepping into the unknown. You're stepping into infinite possibility. So this is where you've got to open your mind up to expansive new concepts and ideas. And I'll get to a little bit on that later. But first of all, let's go with topic number one, category number one. The first type of journaling is I call it mood boosting. Mood boosting is where you're elevating your mood. So it's through reflection. So typically you'll grab a journal. Now, first of all, before we get into this, I just want to say that this is the kind of journal that I use. It's just a simple, I think this is like less than A4. It's kind of like maybe it's an A5. It's halfway between an A5 and an A4. Really great journal, just nice and, it's a good size. And it doesn't have to be lined. It could be lined, it could be unlined. It doesn't really matter. Just pick a journal. It doesn't really matter. Just get stuck into it. Now, what you're going to do is you need structure. To be able to journal, you need structure. And the structure you're going to base your journaling on is writing, which is purging from the mind. And I get a lot of people asking me, can I type? You can type. I generally find that writing is a far more powerful process because there's just some way that our mind and our neurology works together with the movement of the hand and the pen. When you're actually writing, the insights, they just seem to pour through me a lot easier. I've experimented with typing and writing, and for me, hands down, writing is by far more powerful. It's by far a more powerful modality for extracting the insights and the wisdom and just let it pour through you. So we're going to grab our journal and we're going to now create some structure for how we're going to do this. So when you want to boost your mood, well, what do you focus on? You want to focus, and the reason why you're boosting your mood is to feel good. It's to tap into gratitude. And you've probably heard this before, gratitude journaling. Well, we're going to take gratitude and we're going to upgrade it. We're going to go gratitude, joy, appreciation, love, any of the spectrum of amazing human emotions that you've experienced during your day. If you reflect on that, you're going to feel amazing. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to realize if you ask some questions about what did you enjoy during your day, what were you grateful for, what did you love, who are the special people for you, if you ask those kinds of questions, your brain is going to go hunting for some beautiful answers. So we've got to recognize here that the fundamental principle that we're activating here is asking questions. Journaling really is about asking questions. It's about asking intelligent, powerful, insightful, empowering, transformational questions. The higher quality questions you can ask yourself, your brain will go to work. Like we've got the smartest supercomputer in the whole entire world up here. We have super intelligence here. If you ask a powerful question, your brain will go and find an answer to it. If you ask a dumb question, your brain will find an answer to it. So you could ask, what did I enjoy about my day? Or you could ask, what was shit about my day? And your brain is going to go and find it. So which question do you want to ask? Now, for most people, they are unaware of the questions that they're asking. The process of thought, fundamentally, is asking and answering a question. That's all you can really do. You can either ask a question or answer a question. So the more powerful, the more intelligently designed questions that you can ask yourself means that the quicker you're going to think of more enlightened, more empowering, and more intelligent thoughts. So the hack to create empowering thinking is empowering questions. So you want to come up with what I call power questions. Really clever, transformational questions which stretch your mind in a totally different direction. So the questions that you can ask here for this first section are things like, what did I enjoy? What was I grateful for? What did I appreciate? Who do I appreciate? And what were the magical moments during my day? So these are the types of questions you can ask. Now, when you ask that question and when you now start writing, what you're doing is it's like you're giving your brain a command. It's just you're issuing it's like, in a software program. If you write a line of code and you hit enter, right? The software program is going to run that code. Well, your brain is the same. The code to run your brain is questions. The code to get the most out of your brain, to optimize and hack your brain, is asking powerful questions. If you're not aware of the questions that you're asking, well, they're probably happening unconsciously. And this process of getting a journal and just blocking out a little bit of time, it doesn't have to be much. I would suggest, if you've never done this before, start with 5 minutes. And all you need to do is you ask a couple of these questions, and then you just let your brain just start purging all the thinking, all the experiences, everything that's just, you ask a question, your brain will now seek out the answers. It's really, really simple. The second pillar is self-reflective learning. I call it self-reflective learning. What does that mean? Self-reflective learning is where we're reflecting on all the moments of our day, capturing the insights, capturing all those moments where there was huge learnings, huge wisdom that was being presented to us. Life was reflecting back at us everything that we needed to know in the moment, and it was there giving us absolute gold nuggets of wisdom the whole day. Now, we might not have been watching it. We might have just been totally checked out of life. We might have been daydreaming and we've missed it. So this is now an opportunity where we can go back and go, great. This is the questions you want to ask is, what did I learn today? What were the new insights? What was the wisdom that life was sharing with me today for me to move beyond my limitations? So we're asking fundamentally, what's the improvement? How could I get better? How could I perform better? And some other great questions here are checking in and going, well, how did I do? If I was going to rate myself, How did I do? How did I perform? What was my level of performance as a professional human being today? And that will give you some learnings because you can reflect on it and go, okay, well, I made 35,000 choices on average and I had about 70,000 thoughts. So there had to have been some pretty good data somewhere in there. And this is what you're going to find. The more that you look into your thoughts, you're going to find that your thoughts will reveal absolutely everything that you need to know to evolve, to grow. Because within every negative thought or any negative emotion or any challenging experience or any, I could call it adversity, within all adversity lies the seed of expansion, of growth. So there's no experience that you can think of in your life that you go through that's negative that doesn't have the seed of an equal and opposite growth opportunity. So for example, failure is a classic example. A lot of people go, oh, I don't want to fail. Oh, if I fail, that's going to make me look bad. Oh, it's going to put me back. Well, the way to look at failure is it's only failure if you don't learn anything from it. The way that I look at failure is it's just a learning opportunity. So you can ask yourself, where did I fail today? Or you could ask yourself, where did I learn? It doesn't really matter. I suggest you take the concept of failure and you devalue it of any negative meaning because failure is simply an opportunity to learn. The more times you fail, the quicker you can get on with learning, the quicker you can evolve. So the people that are willing to fail fast and fail forward are the ones that are going to get ahead in life. They're the ones that are going to actually move forward and progress. If you're worrying about looking good and avoiding failure, well, you're not going to get the accelerated learning curve that people that fail regularly get. And that's just a fact of life. So I recommend embracing failure and then reflecting on the failure, reflecting on the learnings. And the quicker that you can reflect on your day, the more, in fact, this is no joke, this is no exaggeration. If you were to truly reflect on every single learning opportunity that you had in your day, every single one of those choices, those 35,000 choice points, and those choices might have been, do I want to get out of bed now or sleep in for another 10 seconds? Do I want to, what do I want to have for breakfast today? Do I want to, do I have another glass of water? Do I want to brainstorm that business idea? Do I want to ring up my friend? Do I want to forgive my partner? There's so many choices that are taking place in our consciousness that are happening unconsciously on autopilot. If we can go back and just even skim 1% of those choices and look for the gold nuggets, we are massively ahead than where we would have been. So realize that you don't have to capture every single learning of the day. Even if you just get one insight from the day, one major learning, well, you're ahead. Because a lot of people go through their whole entire life, and tell me if you can resonate. I used to do this. When it got to New Year's Eve, I would go, right, now's the time I reflect on my life. Now's the time I say, what did I learn this year? Well, you could do that once a year, or you could do that every single day. And if you do it every single day, well, you exponentialize your growth in life. And this is what this process is about. By journaling, you're exponentializing your self-awareness. You're boosting your consciousness through the roof. You're able to take the lessons and the learnings and the wisdoms and magnify the bejesus out of that and then take action on that the following day. Now, the big thing here that you've got to pay attention to is not just, yes, it's great if you can capture some learnings, but there's no point capturing the learnings if they just stay in the journal. If you write all these beautiful learnings out and you fill a whole book, but then you close the book and it just goes on the shelf, well, that's a waste of time. Like, really, it's called shelf development. It's a complete and utter waste of time. You have to approach this tactically with every intention of everything I'm going to write down, I need to infuse into my way of being. I need to turn this into a habit, into a ritual. I need to become the most professional human being I possibly can and take all these lessons and apply them. Because to not apply them is treating life like mediocrity. Like, we've got to remember, like, life doesn't have to be serious, but we just have to care about life. We'd have to make sure that life is our grand final. And if life is your grand final, then see every day as a gift of incredible learning opportunities. So really, this part here, this reflective learning, this is the most important part of journaling. Because if you can reflect on your learnings every single day and then apply, well, that's one of the most powerful, one of the most priceless gifts you could ever get, is the ability to observe yourself and to learn. I'm going to move on to pillar number 3. Pillar number 3 is where you take your learnings to a more specific depth of understanding. Pillar number 3 is identifying what I call resistance. Identifying resistance. This is all about understanding what are our limitations. What are our limits? Now, these limitations are just things that prevent us from taking action. So you've just got to reflect on start with what are your results in life? Look at all the different dimensions of your life. Health, relationship, finances, business, all those sorts of areas. And say, rightio, well, are you getting the results that you want? If you're not getting the results that you want, you know for a fact you're clearly not taking action in that dimension. If you're not taking action, well, it's one of two things. It's either you're taking action or it's not working, or you're simply not taking action. Now, if you're taking action and it's not working, well, you need to course correct. You need to review that. Or if you're not taking action, well, you need to understand why am I not taking action. And the only valid reason, right, to not take action is because you're simply in a holding pattern where you're actually deliberately wanting to be patient because you don't have the information or you're not ready to make a decision yet. But for 99.999% of the rest of the cases, the reason why we hesitate is because of resistance. It's because of fear. It's because of limiting beliefs. It's because of emotional triggers. It's because of a limited perspective, a limited mindset. So we need to go hunting for the resistance. We've got to go hunting for this resistance. We've got to go, right, what is holding me back? What's that invisible handbrake that's preventing me from taking action? Because if there's no action taking place, if it's not aligned, inspired action, then we've got some handbrakes on that are probably most likely invisible. So this whole purpose of identifying resistance is to identify the invisible handbrake that's going on. And for most people, understandably, it's outside of conscious awareness. For a lot of people, the problem is never the problem. What someone thinks is the problem is not actually the problem. And a classic example is people, business owners that say they don't have time. Right? They just say, why haven't you done it? Well, I haven't got enough time. Well, bang, bang, wrong answer. Everyone in the world has the same amount of time, right? So everyone has 24 hours in the day. It's how you use your time. It's how you structure your day, how you systemize, how you delegate, how you outsource, how you plan, right? How optimized you are, how tuned in you are, the amount of energy that you've got, your network, your belief systems. That is the determining factor. It's got nothing to do with the number of hours in the day. That's horseshit. So we're going to recognize that, okay, if we have limiting beliefs like I don't have enough time, then we've got to recognize that that's just an excuse. It's just a mindset limitation. So that's an example of something that will come out of the wash when we start journaling. Now, admittedly, some of this stuff is going to be challenging. Some of this stuff is going to be kind of covert, and that's okay as well. So sometimes this stuff, it doesn't come necessarily automatically. You might be journaling and you might be recording something for maybe a week, and you might be writing, I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time. And eventually you'll go, gee, I've been writing this one down for quite some time. Don't have enough time. Wonder if there's something to this. And then when you unpack it, and generally it's easy to unpack it with a coach. Once you unpack it with a coach can quickly, or a coach can, I can definitely vouch for this one. I can help accelerate my clients' progress by probably about 10 years. If you work with me for 6 months, your progress, you move ahead by about 10 years, just simply because I pull everything apart. So you don't have to journal something for 2 weeks. You just come in and have a conversation. I pull it apart within 20, 30 seconds. So if you value time, then this is a powerful conversation to have with someone like a coach. But the whole purpose of journaling is to, in addition to something like coaching, give you a structure and give you a process whereby you can still make a lot of progress in between. You can self-reflect and you can create an enormous amount of progress just by being self-aware. So this is a very, very powerful tool. So the questions that you're asking here are things like, what are the emotional triggers that I experience today? What are my triggers? Your triggers are those moments where you get, something happens and a negative emotion flares up. Maybe someone yells at you. Someone says something happens. Someone pulls in traffic. Someone sends you a text message that you feel is disrespectful. Something like that. Something happens and you get triggered. Right? This is a big, big emotional impact that can happen for people, because what can happen is you can get triggered. You go into an emotional state, like anger or frustration or disconnection with yourself, and then all of a sudden it can get to the end of the day and you've been in that mood the whole day and you didn't even know what happened. But what was your productivity like? What was your impact like? What were the choices in what was the quality of the decisions that you made during that day if you were in a negative state, if you're in frustration? So we've now got to pay attention to what is the emotional quality of our life during the day, because that emotional quality is determining our productivity, how we're showing up as a partner, as a father, as a mother, right? Our responsibilities, our obligations, they have all been impacted by the quality of our emotions. So if you care about productivity, if you care about making an impact in people's lives, then you want to pay attention to the emotional radio stations that you're tuning into throughout the day. So another question you can ask is, what were the emotions I experienced today? What were they? Anger, sadness, fear, hurt, guilt, frustration? Or were they inspiration, excitement, love, tenacity, commitment? What were they? And by asking these questions, it's like doing a blood test. It's like a sampling report on your blood count. That's what it's doing by asking these questions, because you can now reflect and get access to the gold information, the wisdom. So another couple of questions you can ask yourself here in this section is, who or what was I judging? Judgment is a massive, massive cause and contributing factor to suffering. So if you don't know what judgment is, if you are unfamiliar with judgment, if you are not intimately familiar with judgment, then go back and watch my videos on how to master the ego and how to stop judging people, because those two videos are absolute gold to understand judgment. All of suffering is created through judgment. So if we can go back and work out, where was I judging, what was I judging, who was I judging, when was I judging, you get some really powerful nuggets of wisdom to be able to move through the resistance. So that's what section 3 is about. It's about understanding the resistance. Once you now have a record of the resistance, now these are going to be things like limiting beliefs, these are going to be choices that are out of alignment, maybe these are bad habits, maybe these are patterns of behavior that you've been repeating over and over and over again that you've been meaning to overcome but haven't. Well, you can record all of these, and I recommend that you record these in what I call a resistance log. Now, a resistance log, I keep mine in Evernote. So I record all of my resistance items, my limiting beliefs, my fears, any of my limitations. I have a special place for them. It's a storage folder for all the resistance I know I need to overcome. So any moment in my life when I know I've just been limited, I've been restricted, if I'm experiencing resistance, well, that goes straight into the resistance log, and I know, great, I'm going to catalog that, and I'm going to come back to it, and I'm going to handle that. This kind of goes in like it's an in tray, and I know that I will resolve and dissolve that eventually when I get to it. So realize that you don't have to overcome all these challenges during the journaling process. This is simply to elicit it, to bring it to awareness, so that you can now schedule it, you can take care of it, you can pay attention, you now understand what you need to pay attention to. So very, very powerful awareness. The fourth aspect here is stream of consciousness journaling. Stream of consciousness journaling. Now, this is a style of journaling where you just close your eyes, take a big deep breath, and then when you open your eyes, you just start writing the thoughts that are in your mind. So this has no direction. This has no intention other than just understanding what are the thoughts that are just passing through your consciousness. And as the name suggests, stream of consciousness, imagine there's like a river flowing through your mind. There's a constant river of thoughts just flowing through. And when you're journaling here, you're just going to document that. Right now, when you start doing this, you might have thoughts like, I'm tired, I'm thirsty, what's the point of doing this? I don't have enough money in my bank account. Well, I've got to take the kids to school. You'll have some pretty random thoughts. Now, you don't have to actually document these so they make any sense. You're just writing verbatim everything that passes through your consciousness, and you're just going to purge that onto the paper. Once you've done that, I recommend you do, and each of these, I recommend you do them with a timer. Because when you set a timer, it just gives your unconscious mind a sense of ease. You go, great, I know I've got 5 minutes to do this. When the timer goes off, I'm done. So I recommend for this one, just start with 5 minutes. Once you've done this for 5 minutes, you'll notice there's all sorts of sometimes random thoughts, sometimes random sentences and phrases. And what you'll find is sometimes you'll pick out some gold nuggets. All right, so in that stream of consciousness journaling, you might notice things like, oh, I'm worried about money. I'm worried about my relationship. Oh, I'm not taking responsibility for something around a house. Maybe I'm limiting myself. Maybe there's that thing, that new language I wanted to learn, or maybe I wanted to do something different. I want to push myself outside of my comfort zone. And there'll be a clue that just pops up and you go, interesting. So stream of consciousness journaling is a great way to purge the unconscious thought patterns that are taking place inside the mind, because we can now pop the lid of the mind and look in there and go, oh, what's flowing? What's the river of thoughts that are flowing through my mind? So really, really powerful process that you can do, which unpacks and uncovers a lot of the unconscious thinking that you're experiencing. Once you've done that, it becomes becomes a really effective process to actually go through and identify, well, what are those limits? What are those limitations? What are those thoughts? What are those cheeky thoughts that are like weeds in the garden that are not empowering you, that are holding you back? So this is I find this is a really, really powerful process, and I do this one every single morning. I do this every single morning for at least 5 minutes, and what I get from that every single day is absolute gold. I'm getting what are the major elements of resistance that are coming up in my mind, and some of them are silly, right? Some of them are silly, like, I need to drink more water, right? Which is, it's great to drink more water, but that's like, okay, well, that's an interesting comment. But I might have another interesting comment, which is like, oh, I'm not taking action in my business in this area. I go, oh, no, that's really powerful. If I'm not taking action in that area, great. What's underneath that? Once you have an awareness of that, you then take it through a whole nother process that I have, which I'll teach you at another time. That's what the guys in Project Limitless are getting access to, which is my self-coaching model, which is a powerful process to understand any resistance that you experience. I teach you a process to go through that and completely smash that apart, so that you never get to a place in your life where you now have resistance you can't overcome. You always will have a process. You'll always be able to ask a question, answer a question, to be able to take action on whatever that item is in your life. So it's a universal, unbreakable way of getting clarity and taking action. So that's a little bit about stream of consciousness journaling, which is also really, really powerful. And all of this is for the purposes of uncovering what do we need to take action on. That's really what it's here for. So stream of consciousness journaling, it's there. What do I need to take action on? Identifying the resistance. What is the resistance I need to break through to take action? Self-reflective learning. What do I need to learn in order to take better action? I.e., how can I improve my skill, my knowledge, my experience? How do I learn, and how do I become more? How do I evolve quicker so that I can take more action? And this is the whole point of taking action, is to move us in the direction of our desires and our dreams. The number one benchmark to know if you're living a life in alignment with your conscious desires is, am I taking action towards my dreams every day? And to what degree am I taking action? Because if we're not taking action, well, we've got to check in and say, well, what's going on? And generally, my philosophy is, if we're not taking action, well, we're in resistance. Because the natural phenomenon, the natural energy of a human being is to act, it's to move, it's to express. And if we're not expressing something, well, we're in resistance, which means we are being held back. There's an invisible handbrake. There's like a light fog that we can't quite see through the fog. And it's just sometimes light, sometimes it's a thundercloud. Sometimes it's just a light haze that we can't see through. And it's like maybe the handbrake's being jammed on all the way, or maybe the handbrake's only just on a little way. Either way, we need to understand, okay, the whole purpose of this process is for us to understand ourselves and understand how do we take more aligned, more inspired action. And that's fundamentally what the whole point of this is. Because if you're taking inspired, aligned action, well, that's the greatest performance hack that's ever existed. That's all it comes down to. If you're not taking action, and if you're not inspired, and if you're not moving in the direction of your desire, well, check in. There's something that's not quite working. Now, that doesn't, as I say, it doesn't always have to be a really aggressive or a fast movement. It could just be small steps towards your desire, small action steps. It doesn't have to be, for example, if you wanted to improve the profit of your business, you don't have to go out there and, you don't have to go out there and door knocking and make thousands of cold calls. It's not about activity, right? Maybe it's just, okay, what's that one action that's going to move the needle the most? Maybe it's not cold calling. Maybe it's not door knocking. Maybe it is that one strategy that you've been in resistance the most, the one that might only take you half an hour, but it now can unlock maybe an extra 20 or 40% growth in your business because you've been putting it off. So that's another thing to be aware of. What are the tasks you've been putting off? What are the little action items that you can go through your planner and look at what are the items that I haven't completed today? Now, this is the other recommendation, is I recommend that you also have a planner. A planner is different than a journal. A journal is for purging all the insights and information. A journal is for the purpose of understanding the self. A planner is ideally a calendar planner, and one I recommend here is the Full Focus Planner. This is an absolute weapon of a planner, And the planner helps you keep on track. It helps you develop your goals. It helps you day by day sequence your tasks, what needs to get done. It helps you reflect on your week. And it's now the action implementation steps that need to get taken care of. So it's now attending to the detail. It's taking our dreams and it's chunking them down into strategies, and then it's action items, and then it's being accountable to the action items. So that's how we create results, is when we take our dreams and we chunk them all the way down to daily actions. And if we're not taking action on those, well, we're in resistance. So once we're in resistance, this journaling process is a great fail-safe, because when you are reflecting on the resistance that you're experiencing, this journaling process is going to be like a red flashing light on the dashboard to tell you if you've run out of fuel or if the oil lights come on. This journaling process gives you so many insights. This is the ultimate blood test for what you're experiencing in your day-to-day experience. So that was the 4 pillars. I recommend these are the 4 major pillars for journaling. As I said, there is a lot more. If I was going to do a course on this, I'd probably have about 4 days worth of content on how to journal and how to plan and how to take this to the next level. But for the purposes of giving you 80% of what you need to be productive and effective, you've got what you need. And this is a powerful process when it's done consistently. Now, the more consistent you are with this process, the better results you're going to get. So I do this process every single day, and I probably spend the best part of about an hour every day minimum reflecting on me, which is the most important thing in my world. Because the more I understand me, the more I can leverage myself, the more I can expand myself, the more powerful, the more productive, the more efficient, the more effective I can be. So I'm sharpening the saw. And by me sharpening the saw, it means I can chop the tree down in about an hour instead of 8 hours. So this is all about sharpening the saw. This is about refining your skills and your knowledge, your experience, your productivity, and everything that's important to you as a professional human being. So if this resonates with you and you want to become the greatest version of a human being you can, then I highly recommend this is a very, very powerful process that's going to accelerate your journey immensely. So there you have it, guys. That's my take on journaling. As I said, there's a lot of other approaches. There's many other systems. If you get online and start looking at other journaling systems, you'll find there's no shortage of information on the topic. However, I recommend that you start keeping it simple. Start simple. And as a very minimum, I recommend that you at least ask that question every single day. One from each category, right? What did I enjoy today from category 1? Category 2, what did I learn today? Category 3, where am I in resistance today? In category 4, what's on my mind? What's just in my consciousness? And if you at least ask one of those questions from each category every single day, even if it's only 5 minutes, 10 minutes, your life will dramatically improve for the better. So I'm going to leave that with you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks, John. Thanks, Monica. Thanks, Fatima. Great to have you guys here. And I look forward to seeing you guys again next Tuesday for Transformation Tuesday. For those that haven't already subscribed to my mailing list, if you want my epic VIP newsletter, jump on the website, chrisjacksoncoaching.com, and sign up to get that download. That's my weekly hacks that you get. Jump on and get that sorted. If you're on Instagram, Chris Jackson Coaching on Instagram. If you're on, obviously we're on Facebook, and I also have my podcast, Limitless, Chris Jackson. I think it's called Project Limitless on iTunes. So more about that later on. Anyway, guys, I trust that was a great episode. I trust you've got some takeaways, and I look forward to answering any of your questions that come through during the week. So thanks again. As always, lots of love. Happy Tuesday. Bye for now.